Okay, so you need to do your color scheme painting. The first thing you need to do is to choose a color scheme under our materials. There is a slideshow to review our color schemes. You're choosing one of three color schemes. A complementary color scheme, like red and green. The colors are opposite of each other on the color wheel. Okay, you can choose any pair of complementary colors. Don't use all three. So as long as they're opposite on the color wheel, that's going to work. And don't forget to mix tints and shades. Your second choice is monochromatic, so a color scheme that feels very unified, right? Because you're using one color, but you are using tints and shades to add some variation there, right? We don't. Instead of using black for this, you can use black to make a shade, of course. But for this assignment, I would like you to try using a complementary color. For instance, if I was going to make a shade of red, I'd have to mix some green and then add small amounts of green to that red to make it darker. If you add too much, you're going to end up getting brown. So any color on the color wheel, using only tints and shades. Your third choice is an analogous color scheme. Those are colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So yellow, orange, orange, red. Those are all next to each other, and you get a very harmonious feel, right? You could do the blues, the greens. You could do 3 or 4. Right? There's lots of different pairings that you could do. And once you've decided on your color scheme, right? I would just take a half piece of paper. We don't want to do it too big. This is a practice, so we don't want to spend a ton of time on it. And you can do whatever you want. You can draw anything. You can draw something complex. In my case, I'm just breaking it down into some simple shapes that I find interesting. Now, just to make sure that you know what you're doing, please write your color scheme on the back. Right, I'm doing an analogous color scheme, and I'm going to do kind of a reds into oranges, red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, into that area. Now remember, with these dried tempera paints, you need to get a bit of water on them, right? Work them up. Make sure you have some sort of a palette. Another piece of wax paper will work, a plastic plate. So I have my red wet. I'm just going to start out with a red circle. Very simple, right? All right, well, the next step is then now we have to start mixing, because I want to move around the color wheel. So I'm going to move from a red to perhaps a red-orange, and I would do that by adding the next primary color over. So I have to rehydrate my yellow, mix that up, and there we go. Now I've got a nice red-orange. And try to paint these carefully. Even though this is a practice, we're getting used to using this dried tempera. And any practice we can get painting things nicely is going to help get us ready for our final piece. So I just continue doing that. It's an analogous color scheme, so anything in the red, oranges, yellow, orange is going to fit into my composition. I just have to decide where it's going to look interesting. I spread my yellows out, spread my reds out. I also want to use tints and shades. So after you've got a few colors, then you're going to want to start mixing some white in there. Right, and that'll give you add a little variation to your work. It's a nice light tint, right? Something a little different. And now I realize, too, I haven't put any shades in there. Now, I don't have black. So what I'm going to have to do is use the complementary color of red, which is, of course, green. So using a small amount of green, right, I can test putting red into the green, too, to kind of see what works. So I've slightly dulled my red. I'm going to add that in. So I have this deeper red. I can just paint it red over another color. And then I'm going to add a little yellow to the red, to that dulled red, so now I have kind of a shade of a red-orange. Right? So there we go. Take your time. You can paint anything you like. Have some fun with this. Mixing colors can be fun, right? Put on some music, enjoy yourself, and create a nice work of art.